and welcome to I Watched This as an Adult Movie Reviews. I'm your host, Mikkel Ford. If this is your first time, because I am also doing video on YouTube, if you're used to the podcast, uh, it ain't no big deal. Really, it really ain't no big deal. But if you're new to the podcast, I'm your host, Mikkel Ford. This is I Watched This as an Adult Movie Reviews. What I do is I review nostalgic movies. I review movies from my childhood up until about like my teenagehood. You know, that's basically it's a simple premise, like you don't have to be a rocket scientist, sorry, to figure out the premise. But yeah, for those who are joining me on YouTube, thank you for joining me. Be sure to like and subscribe and comment so you can get more entertaining content like this. We gonna get all the bugs out of this real quick. So we gonna work all this stuff out. We gonna work this out. Me and you, we in this together. I'm looking at you right now. I see you through the screen. If I could reach my hand through the screen, I would, but we're not gonna do that right now because we're here to talk about white chicks. We're here to talk about white chicks from 2004. Let's get into the technical, shall we? The movie was directed by Keenan Ivory Wayans. This movie had 6 writers. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 writers. But I'm only going to give credit to 3. This movie was written by Keenan Ivory Wayans, Marlon Wayans, and Sean Wayans. There's like 3 other guys that wrote on it, but they probably just did punch up work because Freeberg and Seltzer are connected to Scary Movie, the first Scary Movie, but I think they just did punch up work on Scary Movie. They're not really writers on Scary Movie. Like the Wayans brothers made Scary Movie, so like I think it's probably the same thing here, where it's just like the Wayans brothers made Scary, like they wrote White Chicks, and they had 3 guys do punch up work to like streamline the script. To streamline it. They do that from time to time. Like it's like, oh, we need to do something with the script to make it more streamlined. They hire a guy. He's like, we're gonna take this out. We're gonna take this out. We're gonna make this more of a story. That's what they do. That's what they do. The budget for this movie was $37 million. It made $113.1 million at the box office. I'd say that's a hit, wouldn't you? Let's talk about how I saw this movie as a kid. I actually saw this movie in the theater. I thought it was pretty funny at the time. I really did. I thought it was funny. The crowd I went to go see it with was white hot. They were like eating this movie up. Like everybody was laughing out loud, like belly laughing, knee slapping laughing. Like they were doing all of that stuff. That's gonna sound weird on audio, but yeah, they were doing all of that stuff. But hindsight is 2020, so let's see how I feel about this movie as an adult. Like from jump, like this movie wastes no time with the out of pocket behavior. Because we start off with Marlon Wayans and Sean Wayans dressed like stereotypical bodega owners. They're like Dominican bodega owners, which they grew up in New York. So like this is something that they most likely have seen like every day. But like they look silly. They look really silly. They got the exaggerated makeup on. Like they quite honestly look like GTA background characters. Like they're doing like the stereotypical accents, like speaking the most basic Spanish, but I'm not gonna lie. Like I laughed my ass off. It's funny. It's funny. Like, this should be some offensive shit. But the Wayans brothers have a way of making offensive jokes funny. I don't know what it is, but like they got a way of making offensive jokes funny. But Marlon and Shawn Wayans play two FBI agents named Marcus and Kevin Copeland. Those are their names. I don't know if they're supposed to be brothers in the movie or they just have the same last name by chance, because like they don't allude to the fact that they're brothers, but I'm just going to assume that they're brothers. But Marcus and Kevin are rogue FBI agents. You know, they don't play by the rules. They make up their own rules. They're rule breakers. They also have like two hating ass co-workers, and they have an angry black boss. You know, that also goes along with that rogue cop trope. You know, damn it, Riggs, that's the fifth car you blown up this week. You know, type of shit. You know, they do that. You always gotta have that guy. But the boss in Lethal Weapon wasn't black. He was actually white. But way to step on my own trope, I guess. But anyway, there's also like this other side story with like Marcus's wife thinks she thinks that he's cheating on her. It's not really something that's needed. You know, I don't even know why they added that to the script because it's not needed. Like, the real story is the Wayans brothers dressed up like white women. That's the real story. This movie is very of its time because you got to remember this came out in 2004, which was the peak of the celebritante era. Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie, they were famous and infamous for just being like these rich trust fund babies that did nothing but party and spend their parents' money. You know, Paris Hilton, the heir of the Hilton hotels, and Nicole Richie was Lionel Richie's daughter. Or she is Lionel Richie's daughter. I'm like, she was. I'm like, she's still here. But like, yeah, she's Lionel Richie's daughter. So like, that's what they did. They like, this is like pre Kim Kardashian, like, who pretty much stole like their whole swag and like made an empire out of it. That's what she did. But this is pretty much what the Wayans brothers are making fun of. Like, it's a funny premise. It's a funny premise. Like, two black guys pretending to be rich, stuck up white women. It's funny. But like, we also get into that, like, you know, that we get into that line, that controversy of putting black men in dresses, which I think it only offends black men. Like, black men are the only ones that get offended by this, but I understand why as a black man myself. I mean, like, we already get treated less than, and then now you want to put a dress on me and challenge my sexuality. You know, like, I understand it, but the story here is not about putting black men in dresses. That is not the main story of this movie. I know a lot of people get hung up on that, especially like a lot of black men get hung up on that. They're like, here they go, putting two brothers in a dress again. Like, why they keep doing this? Why do they keep doing this? But the story is not about that. The story is about the privilege of white women. That's the main story of this movie. Like, that's the main story. And I find this movie actually groundbreaking because it addresses the whole Karen epidemic before social media was even a thing. Like, which is like, it was something that wasn't talked about in mainstream media at the time, even in 2004. Like, how aggressive white women could be in public. Like, that was something that they didn't talk about. It was not common knowledge in 2004. It's common knowledge now, but I think it was something that only black people and other minorities experienced before social media. Now you got social media. Everybody sees these white women acting crazy, acting a fool, showing out in the grocery store, showing out in the parking lots, and like they just showing out in the convenience stores, just acting a plumb fool. Like they acting like assholes in public. And I think it's something that we've only experienced. It was not a mainstream thing at the time. And I'm kind of glad that the Wayans brothers addressed it. I'm kind of glad that the Wayans brothers addressed this, because like it was happening then. Like it's more public now. It's public knowledge now, but it wasn't back then. And like I feel like they were the only ones that talked about it. Like this is like the only movie about making fun of like privileged white women, and how aggressive they could be in public. Like for all intents and purposes, like if anyone should be offended by this movie, it should be white women, honestly. But I don't think they are. Like all the white women I've come in contact with, they love this movie. They love this movie. They bring it up. They're like White Chicks is my favorite movie. like all the white women I've ever encountered or seen, like they just like White Chicks is one of their favorite movies. Like they're not offended by it at all. It's like I think offending white women is like trying to cancel black women, honestly. Like, because name a canceled black woman. I'll wait. You can't. I can't name a canceled black woman off the top of my head. It's like I can't name one. It's like if you don't want to get canceled for saying out of pocket shit, be a black woman. That's all I got to say. And I've been saying this for years when cancel culture was a thing. But I was like, who's not? I'm like, who's not getting canceled? Black women. They're like, black women can say the most out of pocket, disrespectful shit and not get in trouble. Like they're the only ones that got that power. They're Teflon. They're Teflon dons when it comes to cancel culture. And I think it's like that with white women and being offended. It's just like it's like, I'm white, I'm a woman, whatever, like. But I tell you one thing that didn't hold up in this movie is that damn makeup. My God, like that makeup is atrocious. Like they look like melted Barbie dolls. Is what they look like. They look like melted Barbie dolls. If I would have saw them in public, like they couldn't have fooled me. I would have looked at them. I would have been like, something ain't right about them. I would have just looked at them and said, I'm like, something ain't right about these people. Like I don't know if they got like the Michael Jackson surgery or whatever, but something, they don't look right. And then you got everybody in here like just fooled by this. They're like, they got friends and stuff, and they're just fooled by it. They're like, oh, that's the Wilson sisters or whatever, But like, it was like you couldn't have fooled me. You couldn't have fooled me at all. We also give Sean a love interest for no reason. He falls for this news reporter played by Rochelle Atays. I hope I'm saying her name right. She has a weird last name, Rochelle Atays, which I've seen her in a couple of things. I'm not gonna lie, man. Like when I first saw her, I thought she was so damn hot. I ain't gonna lie. I thought she was fine as hell. She looked like this chick that I used to work with at the college that I used to work at. But like that girl also had like this big old like ghetto booty, like if I wasn't in a relationship at the time, I definitely would have got at her. Like it's like she would have been the one. But speaking of love interests, as I digress, Marlon also gets one in the form of Terry Crews. This is the first time I actually noticed Terry Crews, because I've seen him before and stuff. I remember when he was T Money in like this American Gladiators type show called Battle Dome. If anybody remembers Battle Dome, you got to be a '90s kid to remember Battle Dome. Like Battle Dome used to come on like Saturday mornings. It's like one of those shows like after Saturday morning cartoons, like when they used to show American Gladiators or like WMAC Masters or something like that. You know, like those athletic fighting shows or something like that. But like, yeah, that's where I first noticed Terry Crews was on Battle Dome. He played a character called T Money, and he was also in WCW for a short time. Like he was trying to wrestle. I don't know if anybody remembers that. Like that Terry Crews was in WCW trying to wrestle as T Money. Because he did a little run in WCW as T Money. I think WCW went out of business before he could get in the ring, so he'd never really got in the ring and wrestled. I think he was training because WCW had this place called the Power Plant where they would train wrestlers. This is where they got Goldberg and just Goldberg, but yeah, they train guys at the Power Plant. I don't know. I can't remember how many of them actually came out of the Power Plant, but yeah, he probably trained there at the Power Plant and learned how to wrestle, and he was going to make his debut in WCW. WCW went out of business, so he got in the movies. But this was his breakout role. Before this, like he would just be like the big tough guy standing around with no lines. Like this role right here showed his personality because I had no idea he was this funny. Because like the movies I seen him in, he was in Training Day, he was in Malibu's Most Wanted, he was in something else, I forgot. But like he was always kind of like the big buff black dude that was like standing behind like the mob boss or the gang leader or something like that. He was always that dude. Like it was like they were trying to make him the next Tiny Lister. You know, they were trying to make him the next Debo. It seemed like, oh, Friday After Next is the other thing I saw him in. But and he was kind of Debo in that. Like I said, they were trying to make him the next Tiny Lister. They were really trying to do that, but he broke away from that with this movie, with White Chicks. He showed tons of personality in this role. His character is just like this exaggerated version of a black athlete who likes white women. Basically, that's what it is. Like it's a simple character, but he makes it work, and he becomes like a highlight in the movie. His character is kind of creepy. His character's kind of creepy, kind of stalkerish. Like he's supposed to be an athlete. I think he's supposed to be a basketball player. They say like he's supposed to be a basketball player, but his character definitely has a sexual assault case. I mean, like there is one point where he tries to drug Marlon. He doesn't know that Marlon is Marlon. He thinks Marlon is a girl. But like he tries to drug Marlon. He sticks that Spanish fly in her drink. He sticks that I'm going by the pronouns of the woman. But he sticks that Spanish fly in her drink, and he tried to get her toe up. Like he tried to get her toe up from the floor up so he can have his way with her. So that character definitely has a sexual assault case. So, but I talked about how groundbreaking this movie was and how it was a social commentary on aggressive, privileged white women. Well, towards the middle of that movie, they threw all that shit out the window. They don't care after a while because towards the middle of this movie, like this movie becomes just a cavalcade of silliness. Just like they just let this story fall apart just so they could tell immature jokes. Just so they could tell immature jokes. Some of them are funny. I'm not going to lie. Some of them are funny. I laughed. I'm not going to lie. I laughed. I did. But I feel like they lose track of the premise as the movie goes along. But like really, because like really after that, like there's not much to talk about you got the famous dance off scene, with the white girls dancing. It's not very good dancing. It's just a scene to set up Marlon and Sean doing some funny stuff. Like they do like crip walking and the kid and play dance and they start break dancing and all this other stuff. So like it's just a means to an end for a joke, is what it is. But yeah, man, like there's not much after this movie. There is a villain, but it's a very throwaway villain. It's a typical comedy throwaway villain. It's played by the dad from Home Alone. He's played by the dad from Home Alone. Really a throwaway villain. He's in the movie for maybe 5 minutes. Maybe 5 minutes, because they show at the beginning of the movie, they show a picture of a guy who we think is the villain, but we never see that guy at all in the movie. They catch this dude like off screen. They're like, oh yeah, we got him. It's supposed to be some guy named Ted Burton or something like that. And like there's like, oh, they caught Ted coming off the airplane or something like that. And I was like, so we never see this guy. Like, y'all set this dude up and we never see him at all. And then the real villain turns out to be the dad from Home Alone. Like very lackluster villain. I say there's not very much towards maybe the first 40 minutes of the movie, because the first 40 minutes of the movie are the best. That's the best part to me. Is the first 40 minutes. Like after that, towards that middle, like that movie just starts to fall apart. It's a great idea. It's a great, like I said, great premise, great idea, but like they lose their way. They lose their way towards the end of the movie. Like it just starts to go downhill from there. It's not a terrible movie. I'm not saying that. It's not a terrible movie. Like it's not a bad movie. It's not the greatest movie in the goddamn world. It's just there in the last maybe the last 30 to 40 minutes of it. Sean and Marlon, like they give so much energy. Like I say, like they keep this movie going. Terry Crews keeps this movie going. Like he's the real MVP, and we don't see him very much in this movie. That's the thing. Like he has like maybe 5 scenes. I want to say maybe 5 scenes. He's not in the movie very often, but every scene he's in, he steals it. Like he takes over the movie. Like I said, Sean and Marlon, they give that phonetic energy that they always give, which keeps you into the movie. It's not boring. I'm gonna say that it's not a boring movie. It's just that I think they lose track. Like I say, I think they just lose track of the message along the way. That's all I got. But like I said, at the end of the day, this movie's just kind of mid. It's not a bad movie. Like it's not Pootie Tang, like Pootie Tang got on my goddamn nerves. Like I was just like, oh my god, like that shit made me want to put a bullet in my brain. I don't know, but yeah, man. Yeah, man, that movie sucked. That movie was terrible. It's not that, but like it's not. It's like I say, it's clever for the first 40 minutes. The first 40 minutes of this movie are clever, but it just turns out to be a mid movie. It's not that offensive. It should be offensive. It really should be offensive. This should be like one of the most offensive movies ever. Because you got like 2 black guys. Because like you got 2 black guys dressed up like white women. Like I said, you got the whole woman and the black men in a dress situation. You got the whole offending white women situation. Like they make fun of Dominicans at the beginning of the movie. But they make it funny. They make it funny for some reason. They make it funny. But yeah, if I had to give this movie a score, I give it a 3 out of 5. Join me next week when I will be reviewing 1996's The Great White Hype. Until next time,